This is macOS Ken.
Zeroing out some 0 days, epic trolling at Epic v Apple, and talk of tablets and of travel. It's Tuesday. May the 4th be with you. I'm Ken Ray, and this is news from macOS Ken, brought to you by yours truly and sponsored by Upstart. Fair and fast personal loans. Learn more and check your rate at upstart.com/macOSCan. This show is also supported by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/macOSCan. 1 week after big, major updates for nearly every bit of Apple Kit comes small, major updates for nearly every bit of Apple Kit. Ars Technica says Apple on Monday released iOS 14.5.1. According to the report, the update is meant to patch 2 0 days that allowed attackers to execute malicious code on fully up-to-date devices. Monday's release of version 14.5.1 also fixes problems with a bug in the newly released App Tracking Transparency feature rolled out in the previous version. Both are important, though the ATT fix is the less scary of the two. On that front, Apple's release notes say this update fixes an issue with App Tracking Transparency, where some users who previously disabled allow apps to request to track in settings may not receive prompts from apps after re-enabling it. As for the 0 days, they're in WebKit, which means they're in just about everything Apple makes. That's why we also got macOS Big Sur 11.3.1 on Monday. A piece from Apple Insider reported on that. It also had Apple indicating that the 2 vulnerabilities may have been exploited in the wild. If you're a certain type of nerd, it might interest you to know that the pair of vulnerabilities could allow maliciously crafted web content to lead to arbitrary code execution. The first vulnerability was caused by a memory corruption issue, while the second was rooted in an integer overflow. And we all know how painful that can be. It probably goes without saying, but an iOS update does mean an iPadOS update as well. A piece from Engadget makes that clear, acknowledging the release of iPadOS 14.5.1. The same piece says Apple fixed the same issues on Apple Watch with the release of watchOS 7.4.1. Going further, the company is working to keep outdated devices up to date on the security side. Engadget says Apple released iOS 12.5.3 on Monday. It brings patches to iPhones, iPads, and iPod Touches that can't hop the latest OS trains. The Epic v Apple trial is underway. If you are interested in keeping up with it, I suggest you do so. I'm not saying it's not important. It is. Okay, the outcome actually is important. Or maybe. That said, the day-to-day of the courtroom drama ain't going to change the way mustard tastes. Every site out there is writing about this trial. Please enjoy reading about it. Now, having stated my distaste, I can't guarantee I won't bring you anything from the proceedings, especially if it's funny. Did you hear what happened at the trial Monday? iDownloadBlog says the court seems to have had some technical difficulties. Officials were kind enough to open a public conference call so that interested parties could listen in. Seriously, though, they didn't set up a stream of the proceedings. They opened a public conference call. The way iDownloadBlog put it, this allowed for anyone interested to call into the proceedings and essentially let out their grievances or aspirations in a public forum. As one might expect, chaos ensued. The piece goes on to say many of those calling in appear to be fans of Epic Games and the mega-popular battle royale game Fortnite, which is currently not available on the iPhone or iPad. Those fans were calling out Epic Games' go-to phrase, "Free Fortnite." Some shouted out in support of Apple, some stumped for their own YouTube channels. The court was eventually able to mute the callers, and the proceedings were able to proceed. Over now to Europe, where Apple is facing charges of antitrust violations. The Next Web ran a piece last Friday saying the European Commission has charged the iPhone maker with breaking antitrust laws by imposing unfair rules on distributing apps via the App Store. EC antitrust head Margareta Vestea is quoted in the piece as saying, by setting strict rules on the App Store that disadvantage competing music streaming services, Apple deprives users of cheaper music streaming choices and distorts competition. This is done by charging high commission fees on each transaction in the App Store for rivals and by forbidding them from informing their customers of alternative subscription options. All for it? Spotify Chief Legal Officer Horacio Gutierrez. He responded to the EC assertion saying, ensuring the iOS platform operates fairly is an urgent task with far-reaching implications. The European Commission's statement of objections is a critical step toward holding Apple accountable for its anti-competitive behavior, ensuring meaningful choice for all consumers, and a level playing field for app developers. Apple stands in disagreement, of course. The Cupertino company responded saying, at the core of this case is Spotify's demand that they should be able to advertise alternative deals on their iOS app, a practice that no store in the world allows. Once again, they want all the benefits of the App Store, but don't think they should have to pay anything for that. The Commission's argument on Spotify's behalf is the opposite of fair competition. Get ready to hear about this case for months at least, perhaps years. More news in a moment, but first a word from Upstart. Fair and fast personal loans. Whether it's paying off credit cards, consolidating high-interest debt, or funding personal expenses, over 500,000 people have used Upstart to get a simple, fixed monthly payment. Neat idea, right? Turning bills of various rates and sizes into one easy-to-manage figure. Upstart looks at more than your credit score, factoring in income and employment history. That lets them offer smarter rates with trusted partners. With a 5-minute online rate check, you can see your rate up front for loans between $1,000 to $50,000, and you can receive funds as fast as one business day after accepting your loan. Find out how Upstart can lower your monthly payments today when you go to upstart.com/macOScan. That's UPSTART, upstart.com/macOScan. Don't forget to use my URL to let them know I sent you. Loan amounts will be determined based on your credit, income, and certain other information provided in your loan application. Go to upstart.com/macOScan. Who's tops and tablets these days? I know, I insult your intelligence by asking. IDC says it's Apple, of course. Apple Insider has the market tracker saying that iPad retained the top spot for tablets in the first quarter of the calendar year. It actually strengthened its lead a bit. Running some numbers, the category itself is still going nuts, thanks to the working from home, schooling at home that keeps on keeping on. IDC says total tablet shipments hit 39.9 million units in the March quarter, a 55% increase from the same quarter a year earlier. Of those, 12.7 million units were some sort of iPad. IDC says iPad's market share came in at 31.7% last quarter. That is just a smidge above the 30% market share it enjoyed in the year-ago quarter. IDC expects tablet trends to continue. One IDC analyst was quoted in the piece saying, while vaccine rollouts and businesses returning to offices may slow down the work-from-home trend, we are still far from returning to normal working conditions, and hence the demand for tablets, especially detachables, is expected to continue for a while. Detachable tablets. If you're looking to get your hands on the most pro iPad Apple has to offer, you're in for a bit of a wait. According to a piece from Cult of Mac, ordering the 12.9-inch 2021 iPad Pro today won't land that in your hands until late June. I wanted to check it for myself, so I did my usual non-scientific thing. 12.9-inch iPad Pro, space gray, all storage levels, Wi-Fi or Wi-Fi plus 5G with engraving or without, yielded delivery times of the 25th of June through the 9th of July. What's the holdup? The Cult figures it's the 12.9-inch mini LED display. To familiarize us with that, the piece says the new type of display is an improved version of LCD that uses many more tiny backlights. In the new tablet, they'll provide a 1,000,000-to-1 contrast ratio. For comparison, the 2020 and 2018 versions of the computer offer a contrast ratio of about 1,700-to-1. In less technical terms, the new screen offers blacker blacks and whiter whites. The 12.9-inch iPad Pro has a mini LED display. The 11-inch model does not, and it is much easier to get. Well, to get sooner. Checking availability again, storage becomes an issue on the smaller of the Pros. Go for the entry-level 128GB model, and you can have the fondle slab delivered between May 24th and May 28th. Add storage, and you're adding time. 512GB moves delivery to the last week of May or the first week of June. Go 1 terabyte or 2 terabyte, and you're looking at delivery between the 2nd of June and the 16th. Now, I know we're doing tablet talk, but if you'll pardon a quick detour, just for fun, I checked out some of Apple's other new products, casting my gaze upon the colorful line of 24-inch iMacs. The entry-level machines are still easy to nab. Ordering an 8-core CPU, 7-core GPU, 256GB model will get it to you between the 24th and 28th of May. That is, unless you want it in pink. That pushed the delivery out to the 25th of May to the 2nd of June. The other two machines, 8-core CPU, 8-core GPU with either 256 or 512GB of storage, can land on your desk between the 9th and 16th of June. That is, unless you want to get flashy. On both models, opting for yellow, orange, or purple, push delivery out to between the 16th and 23rd of June. Checking one more item, AirTag. Not as hard to get as I would have expected. Ordering one with no engraving would have it on my doorstep between the 11th and 13th of May. Add engraving, and you're adding over a month. If you're buying a 4-pack, engraving might be worth the wait. A 4-pack without engraving ships June 9th through June 16th. With engraving, that same 4-pack ships the 16th of June through the 23rd. And if waiting is totally not your thing, had I wanted to, I could have picked up a single AirTag at the 3 Apple stores nearest me today. I could have also picked up a 4-pack today, but I'd have to drive 34 miles for that. Now let's head back to Tablet Town. The death of the original Magic Keyboard for the 12.9-inch iPad Pro has been greatly exaggerated. You may remember stories from a week or so ago that said the old Magic Keyboard for the 12.9-inch iPad Pro was incompatible with the next 12.9-inch iPad Pro. Not quite. Turns out, says a piece from Cult of Mac, the 2020 version of the Apple Magic Keyboard does fit the slightly thicker iPad Pro set for release in May. Apple said Thursday the accessory is functionally compatible with its newest tablet. It'll work, but it'll be snug. According to Apple's clarification on the issue, the first generation of the Magic Keyboard is functionally compatible with the new iPad Pro 12.9-inch 5th generation with Liquid Retina XDR display. Due to the slightly thicker dimensions of this new iPad Pro, it is possible the Magic Keyboard may not precisely fit when closed, especially when screen protectors are applied. The lack of exact fit may be annoying. The question some may have to ask, which is more annoying, the fit that's a bit tight, or spending an additional $349 for a perfect fit? As was mentioned earlier, anybody pondering that question has a month or more to make up their mind. iPhone 12 is ready to keep climbing. As was mentioned briefly on last week's Apple earnings call, CNET says Delta Airlines has worked a deal with AT&T to put Apple's latest phone in the hands of cabin crew. According to the piece, AT&T will supply all 19,000 Delta Airlines flight attendants with iPhone 12 devices so they can use AT&T's 5G network in an effort to improve the travel experience. Augmented reality on the phones is expected to help the flight attendants assess inventory on board planes and train newer staff members in safety checks and passenger assistance. Sort of sounds like Apple's out of the loop, though that's apparently not the case. A statement last week from AT&T said that Apple will work with the airline and the wireless carrier to develop new use cases and applications for Delta. And finally today, Apple Maps has gotten more bike-friendly out west. Mac Rumors says iPhone users in Seattle and across California have been receiving push notifications letting them know about cycling direction availability, and these locations are now reflected on Apple's iOS feature availability page. These locations being Seattle and all of California. From Humboldt to Funner to, Temecula maybe. Happy peddling. macOS Can, brought to you by me and sponsored by Upstart. Fair and fast personal loans. Learn more and check your rate at upstart.com/macOScan. This show is also supported by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/macOScan. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media, online at backbeatmedia.com. You can reach me a couple of ways. info@macoscan.com or use the Force. Until next time, that is news from macOS Can. I'm Ken Ray.
Perhaps you think you're being treated unfairly?